Hey there, soccer freaks. This is ATL On Fire, the podcast where we talk all things Atlanta United Football Club. So sit back, buckle up, enjoy. So where do you want to go now, Dave?
Well, I think we got to go to the two games, right? I mean, what's going on with Atlanta United?
Two-game recap. So we flew all the way up to the Canadian border. We crossed it.
Montreal, which is actually an interesting thing because they weren't allowed to play in Canada for the beginning of the season. They've been playing away because there was a COVID restriction. You couldn't go back and forth. Right, so that was the first time that the border was open that Montreal was allowed to go home. They've played all their home games on the road so far in the U.S. because that's the only way they could play.
So I've got the YouTube up here on the screen now. Okay. So I entered that game 2-3-7 according to the stats here. Yeah.
Well, that's Brad Guzan. So that doesn't include Alec Can.
The can man. So I watched this game casually. I don't have notes like you have, so I'm going to rely on you, Dave, to bring us through some of the highlights of this game.
Yeah, well, so the first thing I would say is here's the reason why three center backs tend not to work, right? So if you go to the first goal. Right. So we're playing three backs, and so Franco is very aggressive coming out to challenge, right? And that's because he's expecting Campbell to have his back. But Campbell was covering to the left because Hernandez was so far up the field, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But so because of that, Franco just assumes three backs. I can be aggressive, right? And I don't have to worry about it. Campbell is covering not behind him for Franco, but he's covering for the outside guy. And there's a sort of flick on right through, and he's wide open.
All right, so we have the clip. Is this it right here?
It's the first goal.
Let's give it a go.
Soccer is presented by American Family Insurance.
So,
right.
Lovely ball to
this is us.
Yep. So watch Franco. So Franco is there at the top of the box, and watch it let it go on the replay, right? So Franco steps up to challenge, and he assumes that Campbell's got his back, but Campbell's just, busting it to get back. Because this was when, so this is the right clip, right? So watch Franco. He steps up right here, and he's assuming that he's got his back, and he's just slipped in behind, and Campbell's trying to recover for him, right? And this is before Robinson was out because of the Gold Cup, right? And so this is the problem when you play three backs, is that Franco feels very happy to come up and address him because he assumes he's got three center backs, right? And whenever you don't have responsibility, right, then he's just going to assume and he's going to go, right? So normally, if a center back were to come up and address the player like that, he would first take a look and make sure that there's not an open guy behind him, right? And the reason why Campbell is not covering from him right there in that clip, let's leave it right there, right? Franco is going to step up when Sadek gets beat, right? And he's going to step up, and there's a Montreal player forward, and Campbell is recovering and trying to get back. He's assuming that Campbell's covering that guy, right? But Campbell can't be covering that guy because there's a guy out wide.
Right.
And the reason why the guy out wide is open is because Hernandez, the right back, when you play three in the back, you play wingers that go forward. Hernandez has gone bombing up the field, and he can't get back. So now let it go.
So, yeah, I feel like Franco's not doing as good as he could, but let's see.
But he never looks over there.
All right, so he's also covering that guy, the ball.
Well, there's Walks is on that guy, and Walks is not tight enough on that guy.
Okay.
But Franco just sits there, and he's assuming the other guy is covered. So watch this ball.
He's caught in between here, right? And then
so Walks comes up, and he's got that or whatever. So Franco should be with number 13, right? He never looks at 13, and I don't believe it's because Franco is not as clueless because I've seen him play, right? And you see how Campbell is struggling to get in, right?
Yeah.
And he turns around. Watch Franco's reaction after the goal.
Creeping on the inside
Right?
there of George
You see him. Watch it here. Watch his reaction after the goal. He's really pissed because he's like, you were supposed to have that guy. It's not like this is the clip.
He's calm, he's composed.
Maybe.
He's like, you're supposed to have that guy, and he's really pissed. And that's the problem with three center backs, is because when you have three center backs, there's so many players, right? And there's another clip, we probably won't look at it, but there's another clip in the Columbus game where there's a counterattack, right? And they're counterattacking with 2, maybe 4, if you include the 2 guys getting into the thing. We have 6 players back, including all 3 center backs, the 2 guys wide, and Sosa, right? And with 6 guys back, the guy's still running free, which is nuts because we had 3 guys who could have covered him, but nobody's responsible for it. And so, I'm going to call it socialist defending, right? When everybody is equal and everybody is supposed to be doing whatever and nobody's really responsible for it, everybody's like, well, I'm here, you're here, whatever, nobody's taking responsibility.
Yeah.
And this is the problem. And so, many times in that, I think the 3 backs is unnecessary because all it does, you would think it would make you better defensively, and I think it tends to make you worse defensively. Now, there are certain groups of 3 that can do that, and they can defend on an island, and the 3 of them are, working together, fair enough. Obviously, the second goal that we give up right after that is, this is for you, Alan Levy. It's shambolic on the far post. Nobody ever addresses the corner. I mean, look at the guy wide open, right? And, part of this, and I have to say, this is, again, Rob Valentino overthinking it, right? So leave it here.
Right? I mean, let's just stare at this picture for a second.
Yeah.
What in the world is going on?
Well, what's going on is that in this system, it seems like in general, he has gone overboard. So Tata plays with this guy at the front post, which is where Josef is, and that's great. I love the free guy at the front post. But it seems like Rob Valentino has sort of gone with 2 guys that are free, right? And you can see that because they have, in the middle of the penalty area, they have 4. We have 5, right? And so one player has been asked, there's 2 players been asked to be free, and you'll see it if we look at the corner kick that we gave up to Columbus when we give it. There are 2 guys who are asked to be free. Well, when there's 2 guys that are asked to be free, everybody's got to come back and assign it. It throws off the matchups. And so in this case, nobody ever looks, and number 4 is wide open. This is the definition of shambolic.
Let's see this. Oh, my goodness gracious. But I'm pretty sure that George Bello is at fault on this one, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, obviously, Guzan and Bello should have been screaming.
Let's see what happens here. George Bello, I think, in this one, is barking at a bunch of people before the corner kick actually happens, and it was his assignment, and he was late to it. Let's see if there's another view here. So watch George Bello. He's talking to Walks.
Yeah, and he steps
He's
up.
got his head down. He's clapping, and then where's my guy?
Where's my guy? Yeah.
No.
And that is classic Bello, because I've said to you occasionally he's a bit naive, and I think that's just being young.
That's being young, but you can't be going to Europe if you.
I agree. If you're going to scout him for Europe, you're going to look at that clip. And
that clip right there speaks
and all of the Atlanta United commentators who are like, oh, Bello's good or whatever, and he's so great, and look at him going forward. True. But that's what the European scouts are going to look at.
That 3 seconds is everything.
I agree.
Of losing focus. And he's trying to get the team jacked up, but he has actually lost focus himself.
Right. Now, the other thing I would say is, we'll talk about.
So now we're down 2-0 in this game, though, right?
Yes. And we'll talk in a second about us coming back. But why in the world do Bello and Henderson are just flying forward with abandon? And we'll talk about it a little bit in the first clip of the Columbus game when we scored the goal. even in the scoring goal, you can see the tactical naivety of Bello, that he's so committed to just flying forward. He's getting there way too early and way too often. And in that first goal, if Hernandez wasn't caught up the field, right, and Campbell hadn't been have to cover for him outside, we don't give up that goal.
Which goal is this?
The first goal that we just looked at. Right, because Franco didn't read it, but Campbell is coming in or whatever. If Hernandez was guarding him, Franco would have been in to begin with, and it wouldn't have happened.
I'll believe you.
Campbell would have been in to begin with, and it wouldn't have happened. So obviously we give up 2 goals, and then one of the things that's a joy to watch and is a credit to Rob Valentino, right? We scored 2 goals, right? The first one, a running Barco right off the kickoff almost, right? Finds Josef Martinez. And, if anybody says Josef Martinez is not quite back, watch this. Right? So Barco running, 40 yards, finds Josef not in a great spot, but goal. Right, and that's the Josef of old, right? Yeah. And I don't think we're going to see that consistently for another X number of weeks, but that gives me hope that he will come back.
For the YouTube people, I didn't have it up on the screen, so we do that again.
Okay. And I should say, for those of you who are just listening on the podcast, we're talking about right off the kickoff. We give up the second goal. Barco running on the ball. He plays a square ball to Martinez at the top of the 18, who literally has to stop dead in his tracks and still finds the bottom corner.
How's he finding that near post lately? That seems like it's his
well, that's the magic. That's why Martinez is a special player, because that's not easy to do. And then
so again, Barco is bringing the ball up the field, and we'll get to the next match. But even in the Montreal game here, you see moments of him.
Yeah, and the goal in this Montreal game, the second goal that we score, is another example. It's now Moreno running at space. Moreno finds Josef Martinez just before this, and Martinez gets taken down for a penalty kick, right? This is it? Yeah, this is here. So Moreno running in space, he finds him wide open, and but Moreno takes that ball. If you go back on that clip, he takes that ball a good 30, 40 yards. He shrugs off a defender. Anybody who thinks that Moreno is not class, watch this. Yeah, play it from there. Right? Moreno just shrugs off the defender. He runs, he draws the defender, and flees Martinez in the penalty area, who gets taken down from behind. And, of course, Moreno converts the penalty. So Atlanta United at its best is Barco and Moreno running at the back 4. And this is what you can't give up. One of the things that I find about Atlanta United is, yes, we're doing offensively much better. Yes, we're running at their back 4, but then we give up the ball and they run at our back 4.
Don't even start me with our defense is well, which we thought from the beginning of the season was like our strong suit.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Now, obviously in this game, Miles Robinson doesn't play, right? Because he's coming off the Gold Cup, but then he does play in the second game. And the other thing I want to do, and here's are you ready for it, Mikey Dobbs? Yeah. Here's my rant. This is my rant.
Bring it.
And I apologize for any Atlanta United fans who thinks I'm not sufficiently pro Atlanta United, but the refereeing, okay? So you just saw it. We just showed the clip, right? Moreno finds Josef Martinez. He's in on goal. The guy clips him from behind. It's not a hard foul, but it's clearly a foul.
It's the double jeopardy that we have always talked about hating.
Yes.
Double jeopardy. Like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, yeah, great. Obviously a penalty kick. Right. But why the double jeopardy? So I'm going to just jump in on this rant
go
here.
For it. Rant.
Because this is actually my rant. So we don't even, I don't even think we need to show the clips of what happens next with the
So explain to the podcast listeners what the last man back rule is for.
Well, I would say it's to, clearly reward the team that was stopped from a clear goal scoring opportunity.
Yeah, and to
get a red card, right? So that the team is punished But in the box, it's a different story because you're already getting it made up by having hopefully an opportunity that was just as easy as you just had.
So I would say that the last man back rule, which has only been in place for 10 years
outside
or something,
of the box,
was designed because players would be played through. They'd be running on goal, right? And any time a player was running in on goal, if the guy was still outside the box, the guy would dive, grab his shirt, and just pull him down. Because all the danger was you got a yellow card and they got a free kick outside the box where he was running in on goal for a breakaway. Right? And the rule was designed so that if you did something cynical like that as the last man back, that there would be a long-term penalty in the game. You'd have to play a man down for the rest of the game.
Right.
The rule was never designed for that inside the penalty area because you already have a right for the referee to address that by awarding a penalty kick. And you can just give him the chance to convert exactly how he would have had on the breakaway.
The double penalty there, I think, ruins a little bit of soccer in general, which is, it's not anti-Atlanta United. It's just, I don't like that rule in general. Now, this is, I don't blame that on the ref. That's how they're taught to do it in the MLS. It's how they're taught to do it in many leagues.
I blame it on the ref. I think you're being too nice because the referee has discretion here. The referee could have awarded the penalty kick, given the guy yellow.
Hold on, because we're about to get to why this referee does not have discretion, okay?
Okay.
This referee does not have any control of the game. It's all done in the box upstairs, and it's all done by the pressure of the MLS because the next mistake he makes is two peacocking off in the box after, anybody who's played soccer, like, there was nothing violent in it. Like, yeah, the guy put his hands up on Josef's throat, and Josef peacocked his face up into his chest, and that's all it was.
Right. So let me just explain for the viewers so that we know what we're talking about. Right. So right after this, Josef Martinez comes in on the goalkeeper. He almost steps on him, or something. And Wakayama gets in a huff, prevents him. Josef Martinez's momentum takes him into the goal. Right. And Wakayama gets in his face. Right, I think you had it there, almost. Yeah. Gets in his face and confronts him. Right?
Yeah. And
so now,
ball goes in.
Falls kindly.
Right.
And then there's a little scuffle here in the box. Like, he
keeps him in the goal.
This happens in every night. A little, like, oh, come on. Nothing. Two tough guys, right? Nobody swung at anybody. There's a little shoving. I mean, at some point, to your point, the ref has to realize, come on.
That's what I'm talking about.
Did he choke him?
The hand to the throat.
I actually completely agree with you, Mikey Dobbs, that I would have to say, despite the fact that by the letter of the law, that yes, is violent conduct, the shove, the neck, whatever.
All of it. It's what MLS wants to instill. Like,
but those two players avoided swinging at each other.
Unacceptable behavior by the letter of the law. So what happened was the referee, to your point, who is trying to ref the game and make it fair, had already made the decision he was going to give 2 yellow cards.
Right.
Because I know this because he waved off the 2 yellow cards when he comes after VAR here and gives a red. The only reason he gave a red is because the lawyers consulting the people in the VAR box said we cannot deal with the visual of this guy pretending like he's going to choke somebody and a guy who's pretending like he's going to headbutt somebody. And at the end of the day, it loses the spirit of what the ref's job is. And a little bit of the fact that, like, I mean, come on, this is a competitive game. These guys are heated. Josef and that guy would probably have a good laugh after the game, and I think maybe they did when
they walked off together.
Yeah, and I think people were expecting a fight, but I think honestly they knew, like, hey,
I think it was.
We were peacocking, and that's the way it goes. And it's like, why do they have to ruin the game?
They have a term for this in England, Mikey Dobbs. Have you heard of handbags at 12 paces?
I have not. What does this mean?
So the idea is
handbags at 12 paces.
Yeah, so you know how you have the classic duel with pistols at 12 paces, but if there are 2 fine English ladies who are in the department store and they're fighting over a garment, right? That they step off and they whack each other with handbags. That's called handbags at 12 paces. And it's a little less dangerous than pistols at 12 paces. So that's the spirit of it. And I think that's what that was. That was handbags at 12 paces.
So then, now, especially when you look at that, like, also, what did Josef really do wrong? In terms of, did he walked up and put his face on a guy's chest?
Right.
So I didn't understand how that didn't get appealed and overturned for Josef.
Well, because the MLS is never going to overturn that because it's in relation to violent conduct and just exactly what you're saying.
So is pushing violent conduct?
I think that's what they're saying. Now, what I would say that I disagree with you slightly, which is MLS, I agree with you 100% that the reason why he did that is because of the lawyers and the VAR and blah, blah, blah. But I think if MLS is going to step to the next level, one of the referees has got to say, nope, I saw it. It was handbags at 12 paces. I'm good. It was yellow cards. And own up to it and make MLS.
I agree with you.
Make MLS be like whatever.
But that's where these MLS referees, who I think are capable, have a little bit of fear and
they're afraid. Yeah.
They're afraid because of the institution.
They think they're going to lose their job.
Yes,
but you have to actually embrace your job, not to lose your job. Right. So one of these referees has to step up and be like, "Yeah, I might lose my job, or I might go down as the best referee in MLS."
So we're not disagreeing. I 100% agree with you.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. It takes somebody brave to be able to
be brave,
fight the man.
Right, fight the man. Like that's handbags at 12 paces. You gotta love the British for their expressions. Handbags at 12 paces. So those dear podcast listener, if you're out there, you have a little bit of a conflict at work or whatever, but it's not that big a deal. You say, it was just handbags at 12 paces. Yeah.
Anything else to say about the Montreal game?
We're on to Columbus.
And it was an important 1 point at the end of the day.
Yes, because Montreal's above the playoff line. We're out there. We have an interim coach. We're reeling, and we're down 2-0. It looks dire, and to come back and gain a point, bravo. And we got a point with some really nice, the goals, going back to our Twitter poll. I love the free-flowing goals, and both of those came off of counterattacks. We got Barco and Moreno in space. They got to run at defenders, and good things happen.
Yeah. So then we don't come back to Atlanta. We actually fly to Columbus.
Directly to Columbus,
Ohio.
Right, for their new stadium, which is nice.
It was in a new stadium.
Yeah, Columbus built Columbus built the very first ever soccer-only stadium for MLS, very originally, but it was like kind of out in, wherever, middle of nowhere. And, eventually they had the thing they were going to move to Austin, and then they eventually didn't, right? And a new owner came in from Cleveland and bought the team, right?
Yeah.
And they stayed in Columbus, and they've built a new stadium in downtown Columbus, and it's lovely, apparently.
So
20,000 capacity.
We hit the ground running in this game.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Right. So
was it 46 seconds? No, it's 4 minutes.
Four minutes, and so
it was 46 seconds. The 2 games ago, Atlanta United on the front foot. 46 seconds 2 games ago, and now 4 minutes in, there's Barco running at the defense again. Right.
Beautiful little back heel by Bello, and then boom.
Okay,
side netting.
Now here's where I'm gonna criticize.
Okay.
Right. This is Rob Valentino, and there's Barco, and the wingers are asked to go forward early. They're already at midfield, and then they're asked to go forward again. And if you back it up or watch the replay again, right? Watch what Bello does. So Barco is right there. Leave it right there. It's perfect, right? So Barco is there. He's made a beautiful move, and he's going to come breaking into space. If Bello was a little bit patient, he would have waited till Barco got in that space, got his head up, and then taken off. But he's not. He's been told. And look at the far side, right? Maybe that's Jürgen Damm. I'm not sure. Yeah, but on the right side, look at him flying up the field, right? Does he have it? Is Barco going to play him the ball?
No.
He's facing completely the opposite way.
I don't have any problem with that as of yet.
But it's so automatic, right? So what I would have said, if I were the right winger there, I love the fact that he's ready to go forward. I love the fact that he's up in that space. He should be slowing down, right? Waiting. If Barco cuts the ball back, then take off.
Okay, well, let's see if he does, though. I don't know.
He doesn't cut the ball
well,
back.
in this.
But watch what he does in the right winger.
In this still frame, I don't know what he does in the next second. So let's see.
Right.
He slows down.
Not really. He's still flying up the field.
He's slowed down, dude.
All right, but go back and now watch what Bello does.
Okay, but that guy on the right side definitely slowed down.
But after he already got flying up there, and now if he had lost the ball, stop it right there. So if he had lost the ball right there, whatever, look at where our two wing backs are. Right. So our two wing backs, Bello is the farthest player up. He's gone flying so far off, he's almost offside, right? He's 21 in this picture, right? So for those who are listening on the podcast, Bello on the left side, Barco makes a beautiful move from right. He dribbles into the midfield, right? Beautiful. He's running its pace. Bello is so anxious, he's gone way too early, right? And he's basically offside, right? He has to hit the brakes to avoid going flying offside. On the right side,
now that I'll agree with. I agree Bello is a little anxious, but on the right side, I felt like the guy did slow down and try to.
But if he loses the ball right there, right? So right now, where Mikey Dobbs has stopped the clip, Bello is basically entering the attacking third of the field. He's about halfway between the midfield line and the attacking.
He's almost at the top of the 18. Circle.
Yeah,
or top of the 18.
He's a little further than that. But anyway, he's entering the attacking third. So I would like to have both of my wing backs right poised to run right at that moment. I don't think they are. They're both ahead of him. And I don't want my wing backs ahead of him. They're getting ahead of the play. And if he loses the ball there, we are counterattack city. Neither of those guys are in the play at all. And they're not helping him. Yet, as you see in this play, Bello is so far forward that when he gets the ball, he has to turn around, track back, and do this crazy back heel.
Which is beautiful.
Oh, it's beautiful, but watch. I'm going to let it play and watch. Right? He's coming back towards his own goal, which you never should be doing. He should be going forward, right? And if he was going forward, that's an easy 1-2 pass, right? But instead, he has to do this crazy back heel. Now, he makes a beautiful play, but that's crazy. That, to me, is technically naive.
All right. So the second goal is in the 34th minute, I believe.
So this is what I was pointing out, that our outside backs go so flying up the field that, I don't mind our outside backs going flying up the field. I'd like them to get up a little bit and then have patience. And then when it's on, go. Right? But they should not be ahead of the guy with the ball.
Yeah.
If they're ahead of the guy with the ball, then what happens is instead of running into space, they end up standing and waiting or maybe doing a crazy back heel give and go.
So right? We look pretty good early on in this, right? So here's another goal in the 32nd minute.
Mm-hmm.
Moreno gets it out wide and does his nice little dribbling on the ball. I want to say he looked for the foul.
Yeah, what do you think of that penalty kick call? This is the first penalty kick, second goal.
Oh, I think that they need to get rid of that in the game. I mean, I don't love the drag the leg, and you see it in Europe all the time. They give it. If both of the defenders stop in space and plant their feet, and it just sets up a very easy trip-based situation for any talented player that can dribble around cones to lift one of their legs and just make sure it bumps it and looks like a trip. Because the thing is when that's a legitimate foul, and it all it is like a little, if you're running and you get tripped a little bit, like you do fall, right? So it's almost impossible for a referee or even VAR. Like, you can watch it a million times and be like, well, did he do it? Like, I don't know. Like, I would say in that one, he was looking for the foul and got it, right? But
so who initiated the contact there? Was it the defender or was it Moreno?
It was Moreno for sure. Not
I agree.
on both occasions. Even the first player, he was trying to initiate contact on his left foot, and then he switched it up, and the ball went a little out of his range, and he made sure he dragged his right foot and then clipped the guy and then got the penalty.
I agree. So I think that was not a penalty.
Well, no, it's not. But this is where VAR is failing us again.
Yeah, because VAR is only going to overturn it if it's clear or whatever. So all they're looking for is if the referee got misled and there's absolutely no contact. But that's not what VAR is for. The VAR is supposed to be looking at that and say, look, the referee saw it in real time, which is real hard.
Yeah.
Right? And they're supposed to look at it closely and be like, he dragged the leg, he initiated the contact, I think no penalty. But that's not what VAR is being used for.
Yeah. So then 2 minutes later, we get scored on yet again another set piece.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to show it, but we have, again, 2 players who are marking, space instead of, we have, in our infinite wisdom and trying not to give up a corner kick. We've had dangerous corner kicks. Yeah, so play that. We have 2 players, right? So there's Conway.
Conway is sitting centrally and should be playing the ball, who is our goal scorer, strong head. And the more I looked at this, the more I'm blaming Conway for not getting there.
Well, he's playing what Tata initiated, which I love, which is to take a forward, put him at the near post, and let him be free and just go after the ball. Right. And that's what he's doing here. So I love that. Now, he doesn't really go after the ball like Martinez does.
Correct. And it's a little, and you can, if you watch this, Miles kind of gets clipped on the play and can't really get as tight to his man as he wants, just the way that the other players are setting up. And to me, the opportunity to stop this was Conway. I mean, it was actually a pretty good header at the end of the day. It
was a fantastic header at
the end of the day. And I'm not going to put too much blame, but I felt like Conway, if he was committed to this, would have stopped it.
But there are 2 free players. I don't know if you played a little bit more. There are 2 free defenders, not just one. There's 2. So stop it there. See, Conway's the guy in the middle, and there's a guy out wide on the front post, right?
Yeah, there's a guy running with him inside of him. You can barely see his back foot. I don't know who it is.
But so there's a guy outside of the 6-yard box, right? Who's at the front post?
This guy?
No, defender for Atlanta United.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a free guy who's not marking anybody. And we just showed Conrad who's not marking anybody. Right. He's the guy in
Conway,
there.
Right?
Conway, sorry.
Yeah. So you have Miles. You have Miles who's about to get clipped, trying to follow his man.
But why do we have 2 free guys? Why do we have 2 guys who are zonal marking? So those guys are zonal marking and not man to man. Everybody else is man to man.
These 2 right here, Conway and whoever this is, are free. This guy's useless at this point because he's not really covering the front post. Right. So that's like a wasted man.
Right.
In the tactics of things.
Right. So what should be happening is that guy should be where Conway is, and then Conway should be marking the guy, and then
Conway can fill this space a little like.
Well, he should be marking the guy, and then.
Even in this case, he can be playing zonal and get up with his big head.
But I don't think. Why do we need 2 zonal guys?
We probably don't. But boom, Conway's late to it, and you could say Miles is his fault for not covering his man, but. It was pretty hard on the replay to
It's a terrific goal, right? At the end of the day, I don't think you can really say, like, we should have, whatever. But I'm really wondering why we have 2 free guys in zonal marking.
No clue, actually. Watching that clip, I was like...
Look at him dip down here.
And that's Moreno. Who is that? No.
There's so many players.
Yeah, it's Moreno who is out front. What is Moreno doing there?
Yeah, just taking up green space for no reason.
And what that does, so I would say, look, he doesn't get to the ball. And on top of that, if we do clear the ball, where's the guy who's going to start the counter and run its space?
How about that hack right there? Oh, my gosh. How is that not a goal by Columbus? I mean,
oh, my God.
Brad makes a great save. I mean, this is MLS, 1.0 shit right there.
I mean, talking about the play for number 12.
Number 12, Etienne or whatever his name, or who was it? I don't know.
He just slashes at the ball and hits it super wide on top.
Talk about
halfway back here tonight after allowing multiple goals. An opening half for a third.
And what about the second penalty for Atlanta United? Do you think?
All right, so we're about to go to that right now. Okay.
I mean,
here it is.
Right there to call the.
So
his leg
that
out
one,
wide again. It's
I
the
think,
same leg
unfortunately,
movement
is
that he had.
actually, even in the slow-mo, you think he's dragging his leg more.
No, I don't.
I don't, right? But that's, I think with the fine eye, you and I agree that he didn't. So I think we're on the same page here. I actually think he actually was trying to play through that, and his leg actually got clipped there, and it was a trip, and
We could make some extra money as VAR referees.
it's a little bit more. That was a little bit more of a natural play, and it was stupid of the defender who kind of lunged, put himself in a cone position, which was kind of. I mean, he did what he had to do, but Moreno was attacking there, and yeah, I felt like he was actually trying to make a play on the ball there, and his left leg got clipped.
And before I make my final comment, why don't you show the Columbus penalty kick in which Franco runs into...
Oh, gosh, that's tragic. Let's get to that. So that's the other big part of this. So is this right here? Is that what this is? Corner kick? No,
that was
this is the offside, which got called back.
But look,
Left here, but
that's another
in
opportunity.
the middle of the field. That's a tough one
further
to
than
get.
this when Franco runs it.
So it's right here. So the penalty kick or free kick gets cleared out, and then somebody chips it back in. It gets here it is, headed up in the air, plows him over. What is that?
That's a penalty.
Why did he do that?
I'm not sure why he did that, but what the question is, do you think it's a penalty?
Oh, 1,000%. And not even like close. I mean, here we go. Hold on. Why Alan Franco runs this guy over is beyond me.
I think it's a penalty, but it's pretty soft.
Why is it soft? There is a Columbus guy who is up and winning this, okay? Mm-hmm. He's 1 foot in the air. Mm-hmm. You've got Alan Franco 3 feet away from him right now, right? Okay? Mm-hmm. And he just barrels into him. Didn't get the ball. Mm-hmm. Just barrels into him. It's and in a attacker that has in a ball coming straight north from it's coming straight down. So it's not a threatful play. And
the reason why I think it's soft is because he heads the ball already. The ball's going nowhere. It's not a creative, whatever. It's sort of a little bit after the play.
Yeah, but Alan Franco is truly reckless right there.
It is reckless. I agree. And I think it's a penalty. I would have said penalty.
And it's a penalty, right? So it's like, it's just...
But I have to say, if this were the World Cup or Champions League final, and I hadn't called a penalty kick earlier in the game, I would have said play on.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, you can't just...
I would have ignored that.
You can't just barrel into a player.
Yeah, he's already headed the ball.
No way. That's
had no effect on the play.
All day, every day, that's a penalty.
It had no effect on the play.
You never know what's going to happen.
He already had.
You never know.
We already knew what happened.
You never know what's going to happen with where that ball goes. If you created even the slightest disadvantage for that team by being a bulldozer and just running into
slightest disadvantage. That's your penalty threshold. Slightest disadvantage.
Slightest disadvantage when you just run somebody over. Yes. That you didn't have a...
What if someone has a gas attack and the people are smelling is that a slightest disadvantage?
Hold on. Slightest disadvantage in a situation. Alan Franco had no right to play that ball. He was not playing the ball. He just ran the man over, and it was terrible.
But to me, my threshold for penalty kicks is that somebody gained an unfair advantage about somebody who was going to have a great scoring goal opportunity.
No. That's where I mean slight advantage, because you never know what's going to happen where the ball can bounce. And if you you can't just run a player over.
Like I agree with that slight advantage if there's something, he's attacking and you don't know, he could have gone and he's going to shoot it. But he already had it. We already knew what was going to happen.
No, we didn't. That's my point.
Nothing was different was going to happen whether he ran him over or not.
You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. Like
I still think it's a penalty. I agree with you.
I think if he doesn't get run over there is a better dangerous situation that Columbus could have put themselves in with the way he could have headed that ball.
Dobbs, we're back to normal. It's the first time we've disagreed in a while. Thank goodness.
Man.
Whew, thank God, dear podcast listeners. The universe
Mark
is
Gillespie,
right
if you're
again.
listening, this is for you.